I'm ready.
Okay. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and finish up working with fractions, specifically complex fractions. So all we're doing at this last part is combining what you know about complex fractions with the addition and subtraction skills you just learned. So first of all, take a look at the 3 examples shown up top that are complex fractions. It might not look like a complex fraction at first, but that's because we have to take this 1 over x plus 3 and combine it into 1. And this 5 over y plus 2 and combine it into 1 before we can multiply by the reciprocal. Some even look even way more complicated, like this one on the right. But you guys just did ones like this. Basically, imagine taking away this denominator, and now it's just a problem like you just performed. So once you simplify that numerator and you simplify this denominator, you multiply by the reciprocal, and you're all set. So here's the method. You simplify the numerator and denominator separately, divide the numerator by the denominator fraction, multiply by the reciprocal, and simplify if possible. Sometimes it's helpful to identify the numerator, least common denominator, and the denominator, and then continue. Let's take a look at example 1. Any whole numbers that you have, put them over 1. So I have a 3 over 1, and I have a 2 over 1. Now, looking at the numerator, what would be the least common denominator between x and 1? Hopefully that's easy question. Good, it's x. So I would multiply 3 over 1 by x over x. And that would give me 1 over x plus 3x over x. Which, if I combine those together, that would give me 1 plus 3x over x. So now I have my numerator as one simple fraction. Let's look at the denominator. What would be the least common denominator of this bottom piece between y and 1? What's the least common denominator between y and 1? Annabelle? Y, awesome. So I'm going to multiply this 2 over 1 by y over y, which would create a 5 over y plus 2y over y. And that adds up to be 5 plus 2y over y. Now, hopefully you remember from a previous lesson that any fraction over a fraction, we could just write it out horizontally. This is the same thing as saying 1 plus 3x over x is being divided by 5 plus 2y over y. You might even jump to multiplying by the reciprocal, but I want to caution you, don't forget your restrictions. So right now I see 2 denominators. What can x not be? 0, good. And what can y not be? 0, awesome. So I have those 2 restrictions. Now I can simplify. When you simplify, keep the first fraction. Don't flip that one. So we have 1 plus 3x over x. Then multiply by the reciprocal of the second one. Y over 5 plus 2y. Now I have a new denominator, so I have a new restriction. Might be a little bit tricky. What's the new restriction? Any ideas?
5 plus 2y can equal 0.
Perfect. 5 plus 2y can't equal 0. Now that I've taken into account all the restrictions, I just multiply across. So in multiplying this 1 plus 3x, I can distribute the y if I want to, or I could just keep it in factored form. I personally like to keep it in factored form so that I can see if there's anything that cancels with the denominator. So when I multiply the denominator out, I get x times 5 plus 2y. There's nothing that I can cancel, so I just say this is my answer, but I want to make sure that I tell the reader as long as x was never 0, y is never 0, or 5 plus 2y isn't 0. Otherwise, don't waste your time. The problem is not solvable because you get a denominator of 0. Any questions on that one? All right, let's try again. Example number 2. What should we do with the number 5? What should you do with any whole numbers you see in these cases? Put it over 1. Awesome. So this is 5 over 1. This one's 1 over 1. If I'm looking at the numerator, that just has a denominator of 1. So I don't need any least common denominator. My numerator just has a denominator of 1. But now looking at the denominator, what's the least common denominator between 1 and 3y? 3y, perfect. So we're going to multiply this by 3y over 3y. And that gives me 5 over 1 divided by, now I can go ahead and into 3y minus 1 over 3y. You don't have to write it out horizontally. I just prefer to because then I'm not missing any restrictions. So this is the same as 5 over 1 divided by 3y minus 1 over 3y. Now, what's our restriction? Yeah, you could say 3y can't equal 0, or you could say y can't equal 0. Both of those tell the reader one can't happen. Then what do I do next? Annabelle? Nice, take the reciprocal, so multiply it by 3y over 3y minus 1. I have a new restriction. What can 3y minus 1, or, well, what's this new restriction? Perfect, 3y minus 1 can't equal 0. Or you could say y can't equal 1/3. That would be fine too. But now we multiply across. So 5 times 3y is 15y over 3y minus 1. Can I reduce 15y and 3y? I want to, but what is preventing me? The minus sign. Good. So I actually can't reduce those. And then I do need to just kind of clean this up and say, this is my answer as long as y can't equal 0 or 3y minus 1 can't equal 0. All right, try example 3 on your own. I'll walk around. If you have a question, let me know. We'll go over the answer in a moment. And then you guys will still have about 10 minutes to work on the second part of homework.
Can you just go to example 2?
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that everybody's starting with putting 4 over 1, which is awesome. That's the first step. The tricky part is we need to make this bottom fraction into 1. What's into one single fraction? I saw some people put 1 over 1, which is great. What's the least common denominator between 1 and x plus y? X plus y, good. So I need to multiply this by x plus y over x plus y. So this really creates a 4 over 1 divided by, and now if I start combining these two pieces together, I'm going to add this plus this. So that'll create an x plus y plus 2 over that common denominator x plus y. So now I have this fraction divided by this fraction. To simplify, we just multiply by the reciprocal. So I have 4 over 1 times, and then I'm going to reciprocate this, so x plus y over x plus y plus 2. I do want to be careful that if I didn't write it out as, hey, this is dividing by this, I just show my restriction. This guy was in the denominator, so he can't equal 0. And now that we have this as a multiplication problem, we just multiply straight across. So it would be 4 times quantity x plus y over x plus y plus 2. This is a little bit tricky. I have a new denominator. What's the restriction with that one? So I got to be careful because they're all 3 connected. So I have to actually say x plus y plus 2 can't equal 0. You could say x plus y can't equal -2. But we got to keep that connected. So this would be my answer with that restriction and that restriction. All right, you guys have a good about 9 minutes to get started on the last 5 questions of the homework.